Coming to you live from Rublin Studio in Brooklyn, New York. The hot new internet talk show, Know Yourself, where we inform you, inspire you, and encourage you to know yourself. And here to help you do just that, your host, Mr. Brian McCoy.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Know Yourself. I'm your host, Brian McCoy. Today we have a playwright, producer, director extraordinaire. He's had some of his plays one of them called Piece of Me. And we're going to talk to him today when we come back. His name is Jermaine Smith, J Everyday. Hey everyone, my guest today is none other than the CEO, the playwright himself, J Everyday, Mr. Jermaine Smith. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, B?
Nothing much, man. What's going on, man?
No. Just playing my part.
I just see your radio show, man. You're doing your thing, man. This play you're doing, man, is just awesome, man. I'm seeing it all over, man. Not just in New York, but in the tri-state area.
Trying to expand, man. I just put it out there in my mind as a thought, and just went with it. I said, I don't want to perform for people I know. I want to go out there and meet some strangers and put the word out there. I mean, if you got a message, I think you should spread it as far as you can.
Definitely.
So that's what I try to do. Wherever my little bit of change can take me, so that's what I try to do.
What inspired you?
Well, I've always been a writer. Growing up, I did some writing. I hung around with Joe to see.
Oh, okay.
I hung around with a friend in Intro. Always been a writer. Ever since, maybe 8, 9 years old, wrote poems, songs. But one particular day, sitting in church we were attending together, a gentleman came up to me and told me God said, give you the lead role in my play. And I sat there and looked at him in church like, well, God didn't tell me that. You know what I mean? So, but getting the script, learning the role, studied the role, took the role. We did the show, and as I'm reading, I said, this is something I can write. I've always been a writer, so at the time, I wrote a TV pilot, and I took it to our pastor at the time, who was now a bishop, and he said, turn this TV pilot into a play. So I turned that particular piece into a play which was called The Mail Room.
Okay.
Wrote about the post office, and I got my cast together. We was getting ready to have rehearsals at the church upstairs, and a couple of people read 4 pages of what I wrote called A Piece of Me. And those people were like, Jermaine, this is going to help somebody right here, A Piece of Me. This is good and funny, but this is going to save souls. And at the time I had, no idea what they were talking about.
Right.
I wrote the rest of the play in 4 days.
Really?
It took me like a month to edit it, but I got it out of my system in 4 days. And it's been running 4 years and 50 shows, 81 people turn their life over to God.
That's wonderful, man.
So
that's awesome, man.
It comes from one dude walking up to you, and saying this, that, and the third. So I think to this day I always say one of the best gifts in the world is introducing somebody to theirs instead of showing them yours.
There you go.
So I'm just running with it.
How did you know within yourself that this is something that you just had a passion to do? I mean, because to just sit down and write as an 8-year-old, I mean, most 8-year-olds are out playing,
right.
Playing video games. They ain't thinking about writing anything.
Well, I had a different childhood than, some of my friends. My mother used crack cocaine for 27 years. She's been clean and saved the last 6, 7. So at 8 years old, I was forced to be a big brother, a son, a father. I had so many responsibilities, and I was that kid who sat in the house behind the, the gate so you don't fall out the window.
Right.
Wondering if that was to keep crime out or keep me in and watching other kids play. So I had no choice but to put my thoughts on paper. Going crazy wasn't an option.
Right.
Robbing and stealing wasn't an option. I had a grandmother that let me know right from wrong. So the best way I could express how I feel about what's going on in my environment was putting it on paper.
So now, how did you feel when you first put it out there on paper and people gravitated and said to you, like the lady said, this is going to change someone's life, this is going to save soul?
Well, it was a great feeling, but early on, those responses came from people I know, and I love it, but those responses I would rather get from somebody I don't know. Like at the end of a show, if someone that you don't know tell you they love what they just saw, what they witnessed, to me that means a lot because they could have just went home.
Exactly.
They don't know you, you know what I mean? So for a stranger coming to you and say you did a good job or you touched me, I have people come and say, I can't have kids, but I'm going to believe God's report due to a character. I ain't speak to my son in 15 years, I'm going to go find my son because the play was based on forgiveness.
Right.
And to hear people say that, that's more rewarding than the money. You know what I mean? Because you're changing somebody's life. Naturally we all want to get rich and gain from what we're doing, but if you're helping one person, they're walking around because forgiveness is a toughie.
It is a tough one, man. It's something we have to do, but it's tough.
Yes, if you can prick somebody's heart, then I think you're doing it.
Where did the name A Piece of Me come from?
Because it's naturally pieces of me all within the play. You know, within the play, I have a character who's in there who struggles with her sexuality. She's a former lesbian. I've never been a lesbian or never had homosexual activity, but I have friends that have that. And as I sit around and talk to people, I can take pieces of life and put them into my art form. I have a lady in the play that cannot have kids. I have friends that can have children. You know what I mean? I have a character that has a drinking problem. I have family members that have drinking problems. So I took bits and pieces of my life and made it one big story. I didn't want to write a whole story about how I wouldn't forgive my mother for using drugs, because there's one lane of people that can experience that. But if you put all this stuff in one pile of people that's experienced lesbianism, alcoholism, homelessness, you get more people. You know, so what I do, I just took bits and pieces of my life, and the name just jumped right in my head. You know, like, you know what? These are pieces of me.
Right.
And it made perfect sense to say, you know what, this is a piece of me.
That's what's up. That's what's up. We're gonna come right back, and when we do, we're gonna talk more with Jermaine about not only the pieces of him, but how he dealt with his mom being a crackhead for 27 years. We'll be right back.
Know yourself. Know yourself.